Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out Entitled Parents. Story 1. Parents asking me to fly for cousin's surgery. So mom called last night saying my cousin in West Coast is going through a surgery tentatively next week, midweek, and if I can fly out to be with cousin since cousin doesn't have any family members with them. Husband and I are closing on our house this weekend and need to do a bunch of work, paint, cleaning, floors, purchasing large appliances/furniture etc., before we move in. We're trying to sublease the current apartment. We're packing for the move in the meantime. Husband works in person so he definitively can't fly out. I work remotely and also study for my master's so I have assignments and lectures every week to keep up. We might need to fly next week for husband's work too. With all that's going on, I'm not sure how I can manage to drop all these and be there in person for the surgery. Sure, it's possible, but everything gets delayed on my end, leaving me stretched out emotionally, physically, and financially to get my stuff done at the end. Parents talked to cousin's parents and are now asking me if I can fly out there for cousin's surgery. Cousin lives in dorm in a college town, so I'll need to find plane ticket, accommodation, car, and other stuff and care for cousin, which feels like a lot of unexpected added cost and time right now. Am I being unreasonable with my thinking here? I don't want to be unkind or not be there for family with support, but it's looking tight on my end. Also, does it feel like my parents are just using me to brag to their sibling how my parents are being there for them without actually flying out themselves if they really want to show family support? What would you do here? Note: cousin is an international student here. Cousin's parents' visa just expired so they can't fly here. I was asked because I'm one of the people closest to cousin in distance. But also not so close. A plane ticket next week will easily cost me $800 to $1,000. Story 2. Evil stepmom made me sleep with flies. When I was 10 to 13 years old, I lived with my stepmom who happened to despise my existence as well as my dad. My dad told me he loved bugs too much to kill them, and I didn't mind them either until our house began to fill with different types of bugs. My room was the worst, somehow. And of all the bugs that resided there, the fruit flies became the worst. I was very young, and had no idea how to deal with the problem, so I ended up trying to just live my life through it. The fruit flies got so bad that I couldn't see my fingers when I held my arm out in front of me upon entering the room, and eventually I was begging to sleep somewhere else. I couldn't have open containers in my room, food, water, or whatever that may be, and I had to sleep with my mouth closed as the fruit flies were crawling all over my face while I slept. During this time, my stepmom happened to start remodeling the only spare bedroom we had in the house, and the only spare bed, and always had some sort of curtains or pictures on the bed, and said I couldn't sleep there due to this. She was very clear with me that I was not to go in the guest room at any time, even when I came to my dad begging not to have to sleep there anymore. Eventually, things started biting me as I slept, and I suspect they were ticks or some sort of bed bugs. When I cried to my dad about the pain of the bites and the flies on my face, I was told that my stepmom was remodeling, and there was nothing he could do. I lived like this for a while until finally the infestation went down enough to be bearable. I haven't thought about this much since then, but recently had a fruit fly-infested trash can. I had a full-fledged breakdown panic attack in front of my roommates over this, and I'm wondering if I could have trauma somehow from that situation. Is it possible to have PTSD from something like this? Story 3. Entitles mother tries to steal my bike. So I was going through a park with my bike, and this woman, around her late 30s, comes with her son, who has around 9 or 10. Well, her son comes crying saying how much he wants a bike, and the mom tells me to give it to him. The son says he doesn't want mine and she should let me keep it, but the mother keeps insisting. I tell her that if her son doesn't want the bike I'm not going to give it, so she starts screaming F***CKU. You're a child abuser as loud as possible. Some people come around and it was a very embarrassing moment. The kid says he's not mom, we should leave. He'll call the police on us. However, the mom kept screaming almost incomprehensible sentences, The cops ended up coming some hours later and I decided not to press charges. Story 4. Ex-stepdad shows up unannounced and tries to force my little brother to go with him. This happened recently and I just need to get this off my chest. So because of a housing situation I live with my parents, grandparents, my uncle and aunt, my cousins and my little brothers. It's Sunday so everyone was at church aside from me and my 11-year-old brother who I'll call B. It was 12:20 so I figured everyone would be coming home soon. I heard the car's gate open and a knock on the front door so I hurried to it. I wear glasses but I didn't have them on in this particular moment cause I was making coffee and that usually steams my lenses. I looked through the peephole and though I couldn't tell who it was, I recognized the shirt as the same one my current stepdad wore to church that day. When I opened the door though, I realized it was my old stepdad, Brad. This guy was and still is the absolute worst. For the 4 years he was married to my mom, he was a total alcoholic, a downright horrible person, an abusive husband and father, an unapologetic cheater, just complete scum. Hearing him argue with my mom while growing up is the reason my brother is really sensitive emotionally. And even after all he put the three of us through, even though his own son is legitimately scared of him, he thinks he has a right to come and take him whenever he wants. He said he came here to pick up my little brother so he could visit his younger twin half-sisters. The thing is though, he called on Saturday and said he'd come on the day but never showed up, which isn't anything new. I was going to lie to him and say I was the only one home, but then my little brother walked into the room. Brad started talking to B and told him that he was here to pick him up. He then asked if we were alone in the house. I lied and said our uncle was here since he knew our uncle and also knew that he's a cop. Unfortunately he saw right through my bluff by calling my uncle's phone and listening for the ring. He called B towards him and started trying to guilt him into coming with him by saying that he doesn't see his sisters enough. Whose fault is that? I could tell B was uncomfortable and scared so I told Brad that he should have come yesterday since we had plans for today. He asked me where our mom was so he could talk to her. I knew for a fact he knew where she was because she always goes to church on Sundays, and that's why he showed up when he did. He then asked me if I could call her since she blocked his number. My phone was in my room and even though I really didn't want to take my eyes off him, it did seem like a good idea to call my parents and tell them to get home as soon as possible. I slowly stepped out of view before running to my room, grabbing my phone and running back. By the time I got back though, he had let himself inside the house. I quickly called my mom and she picked up in the middle of church. I gave Brad my phone and he stepped outside for a moment to take the call. I quickly turned to B who at this point was crying because he felt pressured and uncomfortable. I sat B down on the couch and tried to calm him down. Brad comes back in and along with him comes Rad, his 15-year-old son from another marriage. That's not his real name, but his name is literally the same as Brad's just without the B. Even though our mother told him on the phone that B couldn't go with him, he was determined to wait there until my parents got back so he could talk in person. He sat down on the couch next to B and Rad sat in a chair opposite. Rad was looking really sorry for us and I figured he was also here because of similar reasons. Now that I was close enough, I could smell the cigarette smoke and alcohol coming off of Brad, which wasn't at all considerate when he was here to see his son who had asthma which he caused. I wanted to tell Brad to get out, but I figured that probably wasn't a good move since he was quick to anger and just so happened to also be a cop and I didn't know whether or not he had his gun on him. We sat on the couch for 40 minutes with both radial and main trying to keep the situation calm. The sound of the gate sliding open and several cars pulling into the driveway felt so relieving. In walks my uncle, current stepdad, and grandpa. My stepdad is also a cop and my grandpa is a retired warden who are both bigger than Brad so I knew for sure he wouldn't try anything now. My mom came in next and told me I could leave now since she wanted to talk with both Brad and B. I picked up my now ice-cold coffee and went to my room. I couldn't even relax enough to drink it until I knew Brad was gone. After another 20 minutes, I could hear Brad leaving so I exited my room. On his way out, Rad apologized for all the trouble his dad caused and I really felt bad that there wasn't really anything we could do for him. I feel so ashamed that I even opened the door in the first place and couldn't even stop Brad from coming in. This whole situation caused my brother a lot of turmoil and I really hope in the future that I can actually do something to prevent it. Edit. Thank you all for the kind words and advice. I really do mean it when I say that they've been making me feel better about the whole situation and I'm so grateful for all you nice people. Story 5. I am just not sure what to do anymore. Hi there. I have lived with my parents on and off for the past 3 years now from 18 to 21. Recently moved into a new home this past year with my family. My parents have allowed my 8-year-old sister to hate me. She tells me she hates me, wants to kill me, and nobody cares about me. I have taken care of this girl plenty of times since she was born and took her to and from school the past 2 years and watched over her, so she is almost like my kid at times in my eyes when my parents are not around. Somewhere along the line me and my parents got into some arguments and we settled on $400 a month rent while I am at college and am currently working 3 jobs. So after working 3 nights in a row I had a basketball game to coach this morning, so my room isn't spotless. I have my clothes from yesterday on my floor and an unmade bed. My shower was still wet and my girlfriend got me some flowers and some pollen got onto my nightstand. After I coached my game I went to a family member's house for a party and went to the grocery store on the way. I received photos of the mess I described and was told to be home in 10 minutes to clean or I am kicked out. I told him there is no way I can make it by 1:30 but can be there as soon as I am done. That wasn't good enough and he proceeded to tell me to drop my house key off and get my shit by tomorrow. I know I am no perfect child and have done my best since moving back in to avoid conflict, doing what is asked of me and keeping my area clean as much as I can. I am really trying. I am either working or coaching basketball and when I am off I go out with friends, family, or my girlfriend. I am doing my best to balance everything but I am constantly judged by how I spend my time and money. I bought some good old PS3 games and was told I am just throwing my life away, and it is truly out of nowhere. I am not sure what I do. Feel free to leave advice or anything. Just need the rent. I love my family and I always have and always will, so it is a hard situation for me. Anytime I am not absolutely perfect I am threatened with being homeless and today was just more because my insurance and everything are supposedly going to be cancelled as well, which I pay for. I am just under their plan/care if you will. Just stressed. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.